Nice. Good. More people there. So.
Okay, so yesterday we began exploring the meaning of the letter Tzaddik. We said that Tzaddik has two ways of being spelled. It's Tzadi and Tzaddik. And we said Tzadi means my side.
My side?
My side, the side that I'm on. Oops. I thought it didn't stay off. So we were created in a way that we are on the side. We're not necessarily forced, we aren't forced to serve Hashem. And so our choice to serve Hashem is our own choice. We choose a side. And it's a side that we choose, but it's not like something that it's our whole being, because there's our identity, and Hashem is our identity, and this is our identity. But we're not forced into it. And the reason why Hashem built us this way is because the goal of creation is that the world itself should be a home for Hashem, as it is a world, from its own perspective, on its own terms, from within. And therefore Hashem built us in a way so that we have free choice, and our choice to give to our mitzvahs is our own. That way, since we are, so to speak, by the people, from the people, we're able to make a home for Hashem that isn't the same by the people, for the people kind of energy.
Got it.
What?
That still reviews everything yesterday.
Okay, good. So now the Rebbe says, okay, that explains how we deal with the mundane. We're able to take things which are mundane and to transform them. Fine. What about the things which are the opposite of holy? What about those things which are not just that they're not they're part of, they're not against godliness, but they're not for? What about those things that are the opposite of holiness? Let's go to Ezra on page Chavtes. We said earlier about what Tzadi means. That Tzadi is about bringing godliness into the area of the world which is mundane. In the nature of the world that stems from the concealment of godliness produced by the name Elokim. But name Elokim, although it conceals godliness, doesn't go against godliness. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu's role is so central, because Moshe Rabbeinu has in him these two sides. He has a part of him which is otherworldly and a part of him which is within creation. So, when we say that the whole world has to be a home for Hashem, and what kind of home? A permanent home. There cannot be a part of the world, a corner of the world, that opposes godliness. If the purpose is that the whole world should be a home for Hashem, that means that there shouldn't be a corner of the world that opposes godliness. Because if there's one corner where godliness is not at home there, that messes up the permanence and the eternity of the whole home. I guess because you're still leaving the opposition a place to grow from. And so it's not permanent and it's not eternal, because there's still a stubborn part of the world which is not being transformed. And that upsets the whole permanence and eternity of the rest of the world. How do we have the ability to affect the opposite side? A place where there was already a mistake, a place that was the opposite of Torah. Hashem should protect us. To bring godliness into the mundane, okay. But how are we supposed to engage with that which is the opposite of Torah? Things have gone wrong, and moments and places are a result of that, and they oppose godliness. What are we supposed to do about that? And we have to do something, because otherwise there's something missing in the entire home of Hashem. And it doesn't seem that we have that within us. We only have, it seems, this ability to have free will and to be of the people. But how do we have the ability to transform the negative? So we need to say, since Moshe Rabbeinu's prayer is about drawing godliness into the world in a permanent way, that must reach as well to the lowest part of the world, that there's nothing lower than that part of the world, and to transform that part of the world as well. This is alluded to by the extra kuf in the way that the letter tzaddik is pronounced in some instances. The extra kuf tzaddik is connected to drawing godliness into the lowest places. Just like the letter kuf has a leg which reaches below the line where the letters are drawn from, so that represents how the kuf is about bringing godliness into a place which is the opposite of holiness. Okay.
Tzadi would just be
Tzadi versus tzaddik.
Dollar good. It doesn't have
any letter of below the line. No. Only kuf
only
is
three. Tzadi has just three letters.
right. Yud Aleph. So let's see how this works. We just said a fact that this is what happens. That Moshe in his prayer empowers us to transform the negative as well. And that's what the kuf is about, going below the line. But what is it? How does that work? How do we describe Moshe Rabbeinu's waist up, so to speak, the part of Moshe Rabbeinu which is above the world? We said that the word Moshe means being drawn from the water. It means that Moshe Rabbeinu is about revelation of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, revelation of the hidden world. A simple question could be asked: the water that Moshe was drawn from was the Nile River. And he was placed in the Reed Sea at the edge of the river. He was next to the idolatry of Egypt. And it was specifically the daughter of the Pharaoh, the daughter of the king of the most lowest place in the entire world, the abomination of the earth. So she was the one who extracted Moshe from the water. And she called him Moshe because she drew him out of the water. And it's specifically that name that we use to refer to Moshe Rabbeinu, although we had 10 other names. So how does the simple part of the story that we're talking about the idolatry of Egypt, the daughter of the Pharaoh, how does that fit with the Hasidic side of the story? We're talking about the hidden world, the greatest revelation of godliness, the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. Is this about being drawn from Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, or is it about being drawn from idolatry, drawn by the daughter of the Pharaoh? What's going on? The explanation is here in a sentence. The explanation is that our question itself is really the answer. Whatever has a higher source descends to a lower place. In order to reach the level of godliness that is above the whole realm of creation, we have to reach specifically the daughter of Paro. To reach a level above Yud-Kei, then you need to have something which is very low, but the daughter of Paro. As is hinted to by her name, Basya, that Bas means to receive, and Yud-Kei, as opposed to Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, is a higher revelation of godliness, above the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei. And Basya means she receives from Yud-Kei. She's a daughter of Yud-Kei. She receives from a level of godliness which is beyond creation. That she is able to extract Moshe Rabbeinu from a place of idolatry, from the place of the Nile River. And by her bringing Moshe Rabbeinu out of the Nile River, by Basya, bringing Moshe out of the place of the Nile River, that caused there to be the revelation of the higher world in this world. So our question was, the simple side of the story is so far from the deeper side of the story. And the Rebbe is saying it's the opposite. It's specifically through reaching the lowest places, they're able to reach the highest places. That by Basya bringing Moshe Rabbeinu out of the Nile River, through this specifically, out of the place of idolatry, through this specifically, there was a revelation of the hidden world. According to this, we could say, why was he at the edge of the Nile River? He was not like he is described in the Talmud, in the Medrash, from the waist down, godly. Rather, he was next to the place of idolatry. But he was protected in this basket. And it seems obvious that the basket was open on top, because certainly there were holes for air to come in. So why would there be a need to make a note 134? It says it makes sense to say that instead of saying that there was a covering and there was holes in the back, holes in the roof of this basket, it seems that it's enough to close most of the roof of the basket to prevent Moshe from falling out of the basket, and so therefore it makes sense to say that there was an opening in the basket. And since there was an opening, what does that mean? This means Moshe was open to the sky. And while he was in the basket, the daughter of Pare, although she had not yet converted to Judaism, that's why she was going to the river to convert to Judaism, to dispose of the idols of her youth. So while she had not yet immersed into the Nile to change her identity, she saw already then the divine presence with Moshe Rabbeinu. She saw revelation of Hashem in Moshe Rabbeinu. So because as she is a daughter of the Pharaoh, she is witnessing revelation of the Shekhinah, and then she draws him, and specifically to the daughter of Pare, who takes him out of the water, and he's raised in the house of the Pharaoh. That gives the power to Moshe to be able to break later the evil and the idolatry of Egypt and save the Jewish people from it. Very interesting. There's another explanation. I don't remember from who right now. I think it might be from the Maharal. I'm not sure. He says the reason Moshe Rabbeinu would need to be raised in the lap of luxury in the house of the Pharaoh was in order to have the wherewithal to dictate what has to happen and to feel in charge of what's going of be a leader. He needs to be raised in a place of leadership. But here they were saying the opposite. It's not that his presence in the house of the Pharaoh was about being in the place of leadership. It's unconscious. It's about being in the place of idolatry and being raised in the place of idolatry. And because of that, he's able to transform and break the clip. So it comes out that this verse that we have been exploring, the prayer of Moshe, the man of God, has a third component. Besides the fact that there is the element of a man of God, which is, we said that the word man of God, Elohim, is related to the godliness within creation. And besides the word Moshe, which is associated with being drawn from the water, godliness, which is from the water, so to speak, from the hidden world, from beyond creation, there's a third element in Moshe Rabbeinu's prayer, and that is elevating the lowest part of the world, a part that is, there's nothing lower than that. And that's the meaning of Moshe's prayer. Chassidus says Moshe's prayer is called the prayer of a rich man. What's the meaning of the prayer of a rich man? Chassidus says like this: there is a Gali energy which is Halacha says that the obligation of satisfying the needs of a poor man is an obligation. You have to give the person what they need. Then there is another element in charity, and that is this person had before a different social status, so his needs are different. The Talmud says you have to give him also if he was used to horses to ride before him, if you give him horses to ride before him, that's what he was used to. So at the same time, the Talmud says you're not obligated to give him wealth, just what he is lacking. He is lacking not just what he's lacking because of what every human being is lacking, but he is lacking personally based upon his past. That's not, but it's not. There's no commandment to make him wealthy.
Unless he was wealthy.
Right, and that would be a need, but only that amount that he was wealthy before. So there is
billions and millions of dollars. Where nobody in the town was as wealthy. Just felt like that. Let's keep on.
So similarly, there is a godly energy within creation. That's, so to speak, something that is part of the world. If that's not revealed, that's something we're missing. There's godliness which is beyond creation, but still close to creation, and that's something that we're not missing, but it's something, so to speak, that we're used to, it's close to us. Then there's wealth. So wealth is associated not with the godliness within creation, not with that which transcends creation. Wealth means the infinite light of Hashem, the essence of godliness. So the prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu is about the essence of godliness. Above the name Yud-Keh-Vav-Keh, above the name Elokim. In the essence of Hashem, because the essence of Hashem has no parameters whatsoever, he's able to fuse together the transcendent light of Hashem and the immanent and the limited light of the Eibishter, and to bring godliness into the world, in every part of the world, even into the lowest places. As this will be manifest when Mashiach will come in the true and complete redemption, when God will remove impurity from the world, there won't be any war, and the whole world will only be involved in the knowledge of God, as the prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu in this verse is, may the pleasantness of God be upon us.
How's the infinite light that transcends the world, or even in the world?
The word in Kabbalah is Sev Kolom. Sev Kolom means a light that transcends the world. The very fact that the world is a pedestal to describe how great this world light is indicates it has some connection to the world. It's something which is higher than the world, but not that much higher. So when we say that the pleasantness of God should be upon us, that refers to the pleasantness of God's essence, and that's brought down into, as it's the conclusion of the verse of the chapter of Psalms is, in the work of our hands into the world. So the emphasis of the prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu is that the prayer of the rich man is that we're not just drawing godliness which is limited or infinite, but the essence of godliness. And the essence of godliness allows there to be not just a convergence of that which is higher than the world, but to bring godliness into the lowest places, just like it was by Moshe Rabbeinu. Now Moshe Rabbeinu is brought out of the house of Pareh, out of the place of idolatry, and from the place of idolatry. This is all connected with whatever is lower has a higher source. So now we could explain also the letter tzaddik, adding the letter kuf in the word tzaddik. It says that God created the world with the letter hey, and the letter hey has three parts. The reason it has three parts is because there are three levels in the world. There's Bria, Yetzirah, so three worlds, and they correspond to three garments of the soul: thought, speech, and action. So the roof and the right leg, which are connected, correspond to thought and speech, and the left leg of the hay corresponds to action in this world. And it says that there's a separation between this world and the worlds above it. This world is unique. This world doesn't feel its source at all. Since it says in the Talmud that God created the world to be full, meaning with everything, the world was created in a full way, it's understood that although the world was created with the letter hey, and that means that there's separation from this world and the world's above it. That's why we say the world is a place of concealment, of godliness, that it is connected to the world's above it, but that connection is hidden. Nevertheless, the Talmud says it's created to be full. What that means is that although Hashem used the name of Elokim to conceal godliness in this world, our effort in the world is tzadi. What does tzadi mean? To choose our side, to choose that we want Torah mitzvahs. So the world was created in a way that we can make that choice. Yes, that there is a concealment, but we're able to choose to be close to Torah mitzvahs. We're able to choose tzadi, this should be my side. I don't want to do Torah mitzvahs. And then there is the letter kuf. Letter kuf means that we reach to a place of that through a mistake, through a sin. From the letter hey, a kuf emerges. The left leg of the kuf descends lower than the line, lower than the way that God made the world. And the intent of this mistake of us, so to speak, going below the line, pun intended, that is needed. It's not even a pun, is it? Anyways, the purpose of going below the line, going into the realm of the unholy, by making the purpose of that mistake is, the Torah says, God created the world la'ases. And the Talmud explains la'ases means lasake. Although God made the world to be full, He nevertheless entrusted us to rectify the world, to make a tikkun in the world, to be a partner with Hashem in creation, to elevate that place too, the place of the unholy that we have reached through our mistakes, that we have descended through our mistakes. Hashem empowers us to elevate that as well. As Moshe Rabbeinu accomplished, as we just done before, the Moshe Rabbeinu accomplished this by being born and being raised in the house of the Pharaoh. And that's the meaning of the perfection of service of God alluded to by the letter tzaddik. I guess there was alluding to also that we call it tzaddik at tzaddik, that the idea of a tzaddik is that he brings down from tzaddik, not just that I subscribe and I'm a patriot and I believe in Torah mitzvahs and it's my side, but the letter kuf as well, to reach that which is below the line, to reach that which is unholy. This is similar to, everyone knows, to what it says about Mashiach. It says Mashiach will come, he will cause tzaddikim too to do tshuva. That Mashiach is about elevating that which is below the line, that which is unholy, and so there is, I think what I was alluding to in note, when they were saying 152 is Mashiach making this tzaddikim do tshuva means like this. There is what's ordinarily considered holiness, right? Choosing Hashem as your side, to be patriotic, to keep Torah mitzvahs, that's the side, that's what you want to do in the world. That's a good thing. Then there's a higher level of elevating the opposite of holiness. So that's beyond just being patriotic. That's about dealing with something which is dirty. So it says Mashiach will cause tzaddikim to do tshuva. It means Mashiach will cause them to do something which is beyond the realm of the tzaddik only. He's not just going to deal with the holy. He's also going to deal with tshuva. He's also going to deal with the unholy as well, all that which is below the line. They're going to accomplish that tzaddikim are also engaged in this. Not that they won't just be serving Hashem in boxes and things where things fit, but also to elevate the unholy as well.
Wait, you're saying that he's going to cause tzaddikim to get dirty?
So that doesn't explain exactly what he's referring to. It's a similar concept. Mashiach caused tzaddikim to do tshuva. The simple meaning of this is that a tzaddik will have that yearning that about tshuva has. A tzaddik will have this feeling of angst and frustration of I need to be closer to Hashem, and not just the pleasant closeness that he feels organically. That's the simple meaning of what they were saying, of what the Gemara is saying. But that concept of making tzaddikim go beyond themselves is similar to the concept of making a tzaddik to become a tzaddik. That instead of just choosing Torah mitzvahs to be your side, but also to engage with, to do what the Baal Tshuva does. Just like the Baal Tshuva deals with the opposite of holiness, and he elevates it. So too, Mashiach accomplishes this with tzaddikim as well, that he gives them that sense of yearning that they don't have naturally. So, which is one of the ways to elevate the unholy. It says that about tshuva. Why? How does he elevate the unholy? Because if he hadn't sinned, he would never have that yearning that he has for Hashem that he has now because of his sin. Anyways, the point is that in one sentence, I don't have much time left. The point is that the meaning of the letter kuf added to the word tzadi is that the role of Moshe Rabbeinu is not just to bring godliness into the non-holy, to the mundane, but also into the unholy, and also the opposite of holiness, into the area of error. So now you can understand why Moshe Rabbeinu was the redeemer of the Jewish people, the redeemer for the Jewish people when they left Egypt. And as the Talmud says, the first redeemer is the final redeemer, because he has the ability to bring the Geula. What's Geula mean? To bring down the redemption, the infinite light of Hashem in the world, to redeem the Jewish people from all limitations and boundaries, and even to reach the klipa of the idolatry of Egypt. And with that power of Moshe Rabbeinu could also bring us to the true and complete Geula. As the Torah says that just like God took us out of Egypt, he will show us wonders again. And not only will God show us wonders that are vested within nature, but also open miracles which are completely above nature, until miracles which are called the niflois, which are wondrous, which are way beyond nature. And there will be a geula, a redemption that no exile will follow, in a way that the whole world will become a home for Hashem, a permanent home forever. We don't have that much time, but I want to do one more point. Hopefully this will work. Let's go. So now we can explain. We started to talk about the Rebbe here, this Farbrengen, asking another question. Why is this the miracle of the firstborn Egyptians fighting with the other Egyptians? Why is that celebrated specifically on Shabbos? And why is this considered a unique miracle of all miracles? Many miracles happen in Egypt. Why is this considered the beginning of the redemption? The answer is, it's specifically the miracle of the Egyptian firstborn fighting with the other Egyptians, that the power of Egypt, the power of the opposite of holiness, which is represented by the firstborn Egyptians, by them attacking Egypt, attacking the place of idolatry, that's what the letter Kuf is about. It's about going below the line. That the Egyptian firstborn are the Kuf, they're below the line, and they've been elevated. They're fighting against the idolatry. This shouldn't be idolatry. Let's stop this. Let's stop this whole thing of keeping the Jews in exile. So by those who are below the line, them fighting against the Pharaoh, that causes the greatest revelation of godliness above the miracles that happen to Jewish people themselves, or the miracles that God did, so to speak. Everything comes from God, but it's above that. This reveals even more the infinite power of godliness, that it reaches even to the place of the firstborn Egyptians. And that's why it's called the great miracle. And this is specifically what is referred to as the beginning of the redemption, the beginning of the exodus of Egypt. And that's also why it was set to be celebrated on Shabbos. Why was it set to be celebrated on Shabbos? Shabbos is associated with the eternal redemption. As we say every Shabbos, may God give us a day that's all Shabbos, a day of eternal tranquility. And we learned earlier on in this talk of the Rebbe that everything in Shabbos is doubled, and everything about Mashiach also we find the idea of double. So therefore, on Shabbos, when this great miracle happened, that the Egyptian firstborn fought against the other Egyptians, that transforms the entire Shabbos, so that the whole Shabbos becomes a great Shabbos. And that's why the Shabbos has the ability to bless the upcoming Yontif of Pesach, because it is a perfect home for this celebration, because Shabbos is about the future redemption. We don't really way beyond our time over here, but I just want to end off with the Rebbe's blessing at the end of the talk and the instruction which was taken home from this. We have a lesson in the service of Hashem. Since we are in the year when God will show us wonders, and in the year of the month of Nisan, in this year itself, month of Nisan, and the week of the month of the holiday of Pesach, time of our freedom, and because I was speaking about the Gulf War, in light of the recent events, the recent miracles, which are open to the eyes of all flesh, the eyes of all nations, that has to inspire a Jew a greater desire and greater power to do what Hashem wants him to do in a miraculous way. And not just miraculous way, but in a way of nisim, miracles upon miracles. So it's not sufficient that he should elevate himself from where he was till now in his study of Torah and his performing of mitzvahs in a beautiful way. It's not sufficient that he should be elevated from that status that he was until now. Rather, he has to go high, to go from strength to strength, to reach the great miracle, which is connected with the greatness of Hashem, the true great miracle in himself. Instead, he has to go way beyond. And we get a special power from the chapter of Tzaddik and Tilim, as Moshe Rabbeinu prayed, may God rest in the work of your hands. And Moshe Rabbeinu gives power to every Jew, especially because of the spark of Moshe, which is within every Jew, that he should reveal himself, his tzaddik, as it says that every Jew is called a tzaddik, and God is called a tzaddik. So a Jew is connected to God, concerning God, we say in our prayers, he is a tzaddik in all of his ways. And through this, to do his job perfectly as tzadi. That means that he should completely dedicate himself to the side of Torah. In a way, this becomes his side, and in a way that there's no room to think about any other side, both within himself and also regarding his influence on other Jews in spreading Torah and Judaism and spreading Hasidus, the outside, and also to influence non-Jews. They should keep their 7 laws. And then there includes that we should now also use out another event in our service of Hashem. This is connected to another event that we need to learn and use in our service of Hashem. By divine providence, there has been a decision these days, decision number 104, which is the numerical equivalent of the word Sadi, from the House of Representatives of this country. We're representing the entire country, which they have a power according to Torah to make a law regarding the 11th day of the month of Nisan. The House of Representatives made a declaration that the Rebbe's birthday should be celebrated as a day of education Day, which this is the decision they made was about that the world should be run in a way that the country should be run in a way that is just and with education. And so that was noting that this is very in sync to what we're discussing here about spreading Torah to the nations of the world as well. And we should do this in a way of a tzaddik to reach the farthest extreme of the outside. And it's a special emphasis in the time that we're in right now to give all the needs of Yontif to all those who need it, needs of the Seder, the mats, the 4 cups, and all the needs of Yontif in general, clothing for Yontif and foods of Yontif, and also to inspire those places. Another thing, which is that there should be public Seders. And there are some people which have only made 1 public Seder because they don't have enough money to make 2 public Seders. It's very necessary that they should immediately try to make 2 public Seders, or at least to divide the costs of the first Seder to make it 2 nights. And certainly they will need to do this because God will certainly bless them and give enough to those who are involved in this, all that they need and more. If be Hashem's will, they should be fulfilled already. The prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu, the prayer of all the Jewish people, that the presence of Hashem should be upon us. The Shekhinah should rest in the work of our hands, in our work and our Veda, in time of Galus, immediately Mamish. The main thing is the third base of Mikdash is built by the hand of Hashem.